My music's blasting out loud. They call me a creep and a cynical bastard, but I love.
Good. Oh.
So how you doing there, Michael?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing very good.
Yeah, we appreciate your time today, man. Welcome to the Metal Bob Live Podcast.
Absolutely. I'm happy to be here as always.
You know that co-host guy up there, don't you, Phil? Phil Bazooka Phil. You know that guy, don't you?
Never heard of it in my life.
I'm incognito with my Bazooka Phil mode, so here maybe if I turn the brim. No, I'm just kidding.
Now I reckon. Yeah. No. Okay,
yeah. Right. There you go.
Well,
hey, you got Conrad with you?
I don't. He had to. He's playing at a thing called Cooperstock today with Alice. So.
Oh wow, cool.
Yeah,
that's cool. Shit,
that sounds like a good reason to miss an interview, man.
Yeah, I told him you'd probably forgive him for that.
Oh, absolutely. I'd trade him places if he wants to do this. I'd go play with Alice Cooper.
When I see him, I'll probably give him a little bit of a hard time about it, but other than that,
well, cool.
And then he also did. He did the Star Spangled Banner last night at Bike Week before Stained. So he's had a hell of a weekend.
Damn, man. Yeah.
Sweet. So
that's pretty sweet.
Let's get into it, man. The reason we got you here is you got a new project called Escape the Hive. You got a record coming out, man. You want to give us folks the little rundown of what's going on?
Well, I mean, this is it's been a while in coming.
Yeah.
You know, it after all the things that happened with the lockdown and with the stupid COVID stuff, you know, we're finally getting the record out. The video is going to be coming out here soon. There's 2 lyric videos out now, and we'll have a full video out probably May. And then the record will be out. They still haven't given me a date, but probably in June. But you can pre-order it now.
Right on.
I already did. I got mine pre-ordered, man.
So
there you go. And I think
so. You got my money.
I think the way they have set up is if you do the pre-order, you get 3 tracks right away.
Yes. Yep. And I got the 3 tracks. Yep.
So the 2 of them are the lyric video, and then the third one, Separate Lives, is the track that the full video will be for out in May.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that, have that released. Obviously, hint, hint, wink, wink. But no, I think that's going to be good for you guys. That's a great, great song. Obviously, I've listened through, the tracks, the 3 tracks that's been, and I mean, I was all in then. I'm like, wow, this is a great direction for you. This is good, really cool sound. That 70s, rock sound. I dig it. So,
well, I'm happy the way it turned out, because it's the big thing right now is, and thank you for it, is that that 70s thing is kind of big right now, but where most bands, and again, I have no problem with it, but a lot of bands are doing the Zeppelin side of it. This is more the Foreigner, Journey, Kansas side of it. And I don't know if I guess I could say I like that more. Not a whole lot, but I always veered to that side of the 70s stuff. Kansas was a huge influence on me. So I'm anxious to be able to kind of open that side of things up a little bit more.
So let's dive into the writing part of it. That's where I as a songwriter, I always like discussing those sort of things. So if I remember correctly, you and Paul did most of the writing for this. Is that correct?
Yeah, my bass player, Paul Williams. He brought in most of the material. I've kind of got a history of writing with bass players anyway. Um, that's kind of who I follow on stage. Guitar players are way too crazy. I not to listen to them through musically, personally, anything.
Yeah.
They're crazy. So I try not to listen to them. So I've kind of got a history of that. And Paul is a great writer. He's got a really natural swing to his writing. And then when you add AD to that, it just enhances it by tenfold. So Paul usually comes up with the original riffs, whether it be verse or chorus or both, and then he and I kind of go through it together before it's presented to the rest of the band.
Gotcha. Let's backtrack a second. Why don't you introduce the band to us and kind of talk about how that unit came together?
Yeah. So started out with Paul and I. I had known Paul for a long time, and in various projects. He's been a touring bass player, musician for a long time, and so he's always somebody that I wanted to work with, and I asked him after I was kind of open to do some other things instead of what I was in. I asked him to maybe just do some writing and see where it went. That's the way you start. You don't make lifelong commitments. You start with, hey, let's see what happens.
Right.
So that's what we did. And we wrote a couple of songs right away. And it was interesting immediately, because even though it had that 70s, like I was saying before, it had that 70s sound, it was kind of a different side of a lot of the 70s stuff that I had heard coming out. And most times when guys put a band together, I think I heard Kiss say this once. So if I'm going to steal from somebody, I'm going to steal a quote from Kiss. That you put together a band that you want to see. You put together music that you want to hear. And so that's really why this kind of pushed forward quickly is we were writing the stuff that if I wasn't writing it, I'd want to hear it. So we did that. We worked through the music. We got with AD Adams, who is another guy, just kind of like Paul, where AD is literally the list of people that AD hasn't worked with is a lot shorter. So,
right.
And he's been another guy that, I've in past bands I've been in, I really wanted him to be the guy, and it just didn't work out. So I was excited that he was okay to be a part of this, and his drumming just, I don't know what kind of magic dust that guy's got, but it just, whatever he plays on, he'd be playing the same thing, and it sounds different. It has a different feel to it, and that feel is definitely what I wanted. So I was glad that we got him in the fold, and then to be a real 70s band, you kind of got to have a keyboard player if you're going to kind of do the stuff that we're talking about doing. So we got Mike Vars on board, and Mike's been great, not only as a keyboard, but in the vocals with backup vocals and stuff. And nice. Then we also got Conrad Varela, who Conrad is an interesting guy. He's just the nicest guy, and he's such an incredible guitar player. He's a younger cat, but he is an old soul. He's older than me as far as the soul goes. So he kind of lent that fire that we wanted. I wanted my original concept was to do an AOR style, 70s style AOR formula, but with a little bit of, late 70s, 80s fire from a guitar player that could fill the footprint of some of the guitar players that I've played with. And I've been lucky enough to play with some really good ones.
Yeah.
So he fills that, and it's been great. It's been great.
Cool.
Well, that's great, man. So we got 10. Is it a 10-track album? There's 10 tracks on this record.
There's 8.
8 tracks.
Yep.
Okay.
8 tracks. And in fact, there's a surprise on there that I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Should I tell Bob? I'm speaking to my other self. I'll because I think Phil already knows this. So there's a track on the record that is I was real hesitant to do it first, but just the way it kind of came together was really natural. We had another original track that was going to go on, but this cover kind of really came together, and it wasn't something that I expected. It just turned out so well. It's a cover of the Beatles' Something.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and I would normally never touch a Beatles song because they're the Beatles. I mean, what are you going to do to prove it? But this is so different. It sounds like something that we would have written. And sometimes that kind of stuff, that just the arrangement, the way it came together, and I just don't question it. We went ahead and said, well, let's try it, and we did, and it came out really good. I'm so happy with it. So that's the one that's on the record.
Cool.
But I'm like I said, I'm super happy about the way it turned out.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to hearing this whole album. You and I've talked about it a few times, but just the first 3 tracks and what we've discussed, I'm just like, this is going to be fun. This is going to be a fun album.
I've like I said, I'm really proud of this record. I'm anxious to not only have the record out, but to tour behind it. Oh my God.
Right?
Wow. Play the songs a lot. What a luxury.
Absolutely. And we're looking forward to that too, man. We can't wait till you get out on the road.
Oh man. So it's coming soon. We do our we play the Mesa Music Festival here on April 15th in downtown Mesa in Arizona. We're doing that. And then we turn right around and go to Los Angeles and play the Whiskey with Angel, which I am
nice
too. Yeah. I'm kind of looking forward to that one.
Just a little bit.
Man. That's a great freaking gig, dude.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
Great.
So a set list for these shows, are you playing the full album, the whole album, all 8 tracks, and adding stuff in, or how did you pick tunes for the set list?
Well, because both of these shows will be a little shorter sets, so I don't know if we'll be able to get the whole record in, but we'll play the bulk of it. And then once we start doing more full shows in I think starting in June, then we'll expand the set, and it will be the whole record. Every track on it, something will be included as well, and another couple cover surprises that have just kind of come together really well that we're going to add. And then I think we're going to play 1, maybe 2 songs from the last record I did, since it never got a live venue to speak. So we've been asked about
Bob.
What's that?
Yeah, it was a Metal Bob #1.
It was.
Album of the year.
Yep. Kings of Dust, record of the year, man.
Kings of Dust. And thank you again for that.
Oh, buddy, it's a fantastic record. I mean, that thing, first time I heard it, my doors were blown. I was like, Jesus, this is amazing.
Good record. I'm proud of it. And I because that record never got to be played live, we'll probably play a couple of songs off that. One, maybe two. A lot of people have asked about it, so we'll probably do it for that reason. And then but the whole Escape the Hive record will be out there for sure. And then sometime this summer, maybe as early as July, we might go in and actually do a couple more new Escape the Hive songs to be ready for fall.
Oh wow, nice.
Sometime, I don't know, probably early next year, maybe we'll be looking at another Escape the Hive record. So we want to kind of get a jump on both of those.
Cool.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I heard it here first.
And not only was your Kings of Dust record #1, I also, had the It's All Right single was single of the year last year from Escape the Hive.
Right. Yeah. And thank you for that. That was really unexpected because although we released the single last year, I didn't expect anything to happen for it or from it until this year. So we kind of got in under the wire. So
yeah,
I appreciate it.
Yeah. Snuck it in. So I wanted to jump back to the writing. I just wanted to ask you, like when you're writing lyrics and writing melodies for these songs, do you keep all that, like especially the lyrics, do you keep lyrics personal? Do you make a personal story and then kind of give imagery out, so they can, yeah.
I try when I'm writing lyrics, I mean, lyrics are usually personal, always. Right. The good ones are. But I try and make sure that as I'm writing it, I don't want to be too specific, because I would much rather have you hear Separate Lives and hear something in the lyrics that catches you and means something to you and means something to who you are and where you are and your life in general, than to be so specific that you have to completely catch my vibe or not get it at all. So I very much, even though they're usually pretty specific, I try and keep them a little bit general, just so people can grab onto them. And I'm sure it's from the Love in Kansas in back in the day, and where you hear Carry On Wayward Son or Portrait He Knew, and you listen to those songs, and immediately you're hit with the melody and the lyrics, or Hold On or something like that, or The Wall, and even though you hear them, the more you hear them, the more you get out of them. And that's what I try and do lyrically. Nice. So it's an onion.
Yeah, right. Peel back the layers. And I like that, how you make it, it's personal, but you make it accessible, so where people can put their own story into it.
Right. Exactly. And most of the stuff I write is, I don't know if topical is the word, but it's usually, something that's going on in my head. The second single we had out that also has a lyric video out, In Between, is pretty topical. Again, it's if you listen to the lyrics, it's fairly specific on what it is. It's mostly about Facebook and media in general, and how there's no in between. Everybody's on one side or the other, and if you're not right, you're 100% wrong. So that's kind of what.
That's the way it is today out there in society, and that kind of sucks, shit.
Well, and in addition to that, it's a little bit of a knock on that media as well, because it's we all thought when Facebook was something that kind of popped up, we'd be able to connect with friends, and we'd have this, and when the internet was first coming out, wow, you can have every fact ever available at your fingertips. Won't that be great? Yeah, not so much.
Yeah. Yeah, that's truth. That's the truth.
Are we going to get any more singles before the album, or is the album the next thing that's going to be released?
No, we'll get you'll get the third track that you get when you do the pre-order, which is Separate Lives, with the video. But then the full record will come out right after that. Yeah. Nice. And we've been talking about doing one more video for one more song for sometime this fall. I don't know if that's going to happen, but there's been discussions.
Well, I'll give you a little secret. We talked to AD, and if you can shut him down, if you can shut him down, good luck, because it sounds like it's happening.
I actually talked to him yesterday, and he already knows what song we're doing. So evidently we're doing something.
So when you release, are you releasing it on different formats like vinyl and CD and digital, obviously? But
yeah, they'll be on all formats. Although not right away. Vinyl's a little hard to get in your fingers all at one point. So it'll be released on CD and of course digital first, and then probably by the fall we'll be looking at vinyl. I'm kind of a vinyl head, so I definitely want it out on vinyl for sure.
Yeah. Well, I kind of knew that about you. That's why I was like, I'm pretty sure you're going to be releasing on vinyl. I just wanted to make sure. And
I wanted to do it up front, but they don't always do what I tell them.
Is it possible that we might see the Kings of Dust released on vinyl at some point in the future?
No, probably not.
Probably not.
I'm proud of that record, and I love that record for the stepping stone that it was. But in a lot of ways, it was just that. And I'm really, really happy to be where I'm at. So I think by that point, I wanted to make sure I've been asked about doing a couple, some of that material live, because it never got a shake because of, it was, that record literally got released the day they announced the lockdown. So all the stuff that had been planned for that band just kind of wafered away immediately. And so I've been asked about it a lot, and I would like to do that for the people that have asked, and for the fan base for that record. Happily counting you guys up among it. But I think by that time, once I feel I've done that, I'm really happy to be where I'm at. I really am. I couldn't be happier the way it all turned out. I really couldn't.
So you're a producer. You've been producing for a long time now. So when you went into this project, did you engineer and produce the whole thing by yourself, or did somebody else, kind of sit by your side and as in the producer chair, or did you do this?
Yes, somebody. Again, that's where I rely on Paul a lot. I don't. I normally would never. In fact, I think doing your own record is usually, as far as recording and producing it, doing your own record is really kind of the kiss of death. It really is. In a normal situation, that it just is. Bands tend to go through things that don't need to be gone through. They focus on things that, for weeks, months, and years that don't need to be focused on. And that's why you have a producer. So I try and make sure that when we were doing the record, that I'm changing hats at the appropriate time, but I'm never wearing two at the same time. when we're doing drum tracks, I'm fully committed to doing drum tracks. I don't, ascribe myself as being the singer at that point. I'm not really the singer until I get in front of the mic. So that way it allowed me to kind of go back and forth without too much of a mix of the two. But I also really relied on Paul. What do you think about this? Is everything where it needs to be? Is this sound right? And he's been a great voice of reason to and 95% of the time we agreed on everything. So it's even when you think you're doing the right thing, it's nice to have somebody going, yeah, that's the way it's supposed to be.
Cool. Yeah. Well, I was wondering how you approach this album, because I know that you record in your studio and and bring the guys in and building the album. And you've been about a year and a half now that you've been working.
It's about a year.
Okay.
We started literally just putting together the songs. Yeah, about this time last year. So maybe a little before, like February, Marchish. So we're pretty. And I wanted to have and again, for that reason, I wanted to have enough material to present to go, okay, here's the stuff, let's get it done, instead of constantly sifting through material and then it just becomes a never ending process. So I tried to put, like you would as a producer, one of the things about being a producer is not just, do this here or try this there. It's really about managing the project. And okay, you put a timestamp on things. We have this much time to get the drums done, and you don't have to carve. If you take an extra day or 4 to do drums, then that's okay. But if you don't put a timestamp on it and it's just out there in the wind, that's where a lot of bands that don't have producers really get stuck, and they don't even realize that that's why. Because I mean, time is a great thing, but it's also something that you can, especially as a songwriter and a musician, you can sure eat up an awful lot of it and not do a whole lot for the song.
Yeah. Fair.
Right on, man. So hey, real sorry, Phil.
No, go ahead.
I was curious about the logo.
Yeah.
The Escape the Hive logo. So first off, where'd the name come from, and who designed your logo?
Well, the logo was done by a friend of mine, a guy named Greg Holman, who's been, he was the best man at my wedding. He's been one of my best friends since I was 15, 16. So actually a bass player in my first band. So he designed the logo. He actually designed, he and I designed the cover, although the concept was mine. He kind of helped put it together, and put together all the inserts in the, where the lyrics go. Because again, if we're going to do a CD, I don't want it just a CD. I'm old school. I want to be able to, at least if I want it to feel like vinyl. So you open it up, you've got the lyrics in it. There's different pictures in there. There's, it's a journey instead of just sticking in there and listening to it. I like there to be a little bit more than that, because that's the way I grew up listening to music. I'm sure you guys did too.
Right.
So he came up with the logo. We went round and round about a name, because man, literally everything's taken. There were so many times that I went, oh, I really like, it's gone. Somebody else.
I really like the Phil Kobeck project, but I can't use that.
That was on the list.
Oh man,
it was a task to get something, and then I don't even remember where it kind of came from, but it fits the band. The title of the record is called "This Is Gonna Sting,"
Yeah, great.
So it kind of ties in with Escape the Hive. And Escape the Hive, if you look at the cover, it's a picture of this building with one light on in the middle, and it's kind of, bucking constraints, getting out of constraints, and going off on your own, and not following the rules that are set in around you. So to me, that felt like just exactly where I wanted to be. So that's it. It all kind of made sense. And again, when it makes sense, you don't question it until you find out another band's got that name, and then you just keep going again.
I tell you, it's a great name. I like that a lot. I love the name of the album too. I think, I love the play between the band's name and the album. It was good.
I try and again, we are all of similar age, so when a record comes out from a certain band with a certain sound, it's a package. I like everything to tie together. That means something to me, instead of just no title or something like that. So once it was up to me, we did things a little different.
Yeah, gotcha. I tell you, the memories of purchasing an album, a vinyl back when we were kids, and you'd buy your vinyl, you'd open it up, you put the album on, drop that needle, and then you would just dive into everything, the sleeve, the inside, the inserts, all that kind of stuff, and just absorb the whole thing. So it takes me back to that.
Absolutely. That's exactly was my intent. That's exactly right. I remember still, like you said, you open up the record, you go through the lyrics, you read the liner notes, and who produced it and who recorded it, and where they were, and I like that kind of stuff. So we try to incorporate all of that in the CD, and then also will be on the vinyl as well.
Cool.
Nice.
Yeah, I always thought you learned a lot by liner notes and all the different things, and I always like the special thanks section. You always find interesting names and all kinds of cool shit in there, man. So exactly.
Yeah. That is definitely an experience that's been lost on people under 30 and 40. And I mean, the focus is the music, but anything that pulls you deeper into the music is a plus, and that is definitely one of those things that pulls you deeper into the music, for sure.
Yep, I agree 100%.
Why it looks the way it does, and I love all that.
See, and that's what you're exploring when you go into those packaging, and you're exploring and trying to figure out, why did they list the tracks in this order? Why did they, what's the journey we're on, here listening through this album? And that's what I've always loved about music, is because you're on a journey, man. And when you're, listening, I don't like listening to just a track, I like putting on an album and listening to the album, because I want to experience what those guys were thinking and trying to, take us on this journey from track 1 to whatever track, 12 or whatever. And I love that you're keeping it old school like that. That's just, yeah.
Everything you said is very important to all of us. I mean, that's what we all grew up doing. So it's that's definitely an aspect of it that I didn't want to lose, for sure.
Hey, I got a question, and then this is a little bit off of the album thing.
Here, Bill.
I know you're here to answer my questions. Damn it. Muscle cars. Yeah. I don't think we've ever said and talked about muscle cars.
Now you better be careful, because I can talk for 2 hours on cars and not look back at all. So.
Dude, well, I see you post pictures of your car, and that you go out to those different car shows and whatnot. And I'm like, I don't think I've ever, sit down and all the times we've been together and ever ask you about that. So I figured I would ask you that before we got out of this interview. I had to get that question in. So,
well, I'll get it, and this will tie in. So
Okay.
I'll lay a little another nugget on you, so to speak.
Great.
My muscle car, I have a '74 Camaro, and when you see the video, my car is in it.
I thought that would tie in. So,
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So what got you into muscle cars?
You what?
What got you into muscle cars? Was it a lifelong passion as a kid, racing cars on the strip or whatever?
I remember two things about muscle cars that got me hooked. One is being about 6 years old, so this would have been early 70s. The neighbor kind of around the corner from where we lived had a Tor Red. I even know the name. It's what I know about muscle cars is ridiculous. If I knew that much about anything else, I'd be a millionaire. He had a Tor Red 1970 Superbird, and he, back then it was just a car, but it wasn't just a car. It was a Superbird. I mean, that tail takes it out of it's just a car, no matter where you put it or in what. So I would just ride my bike just like a figure eight next to it. And I remember that kid coming out going, "Hey, get away from my car." I remember seeing that car and just being blown away. Like, you have got to be kidding me. What the hell is that? So that was the big one. And then right about that same time, I was probably about the same age, probably 8 or 9. And I was spending Thanksgiving at my grandparents' house, and my dad's brother, my uncle, was there. And my dad's brother's got a little bit of the crazy gene. He's a little nutty. He was a biker for a while and did all the things the bikers do, and he was a bit of a nut. And nice. I remember my grandma saying, "Oh, we're out of bread for the stuffing." And my grandpa had just gotten it wasn't a new car, but it was new to him. It was a 1966 Coronet with a 383. And I remember my uncle going, "I'll go get it, Mom. I'll run down to the store. Can I take the Coronet? Is that okay?" And I'm kind of wondering what's going on. And Grandma said, "Yeah, why don't you take Michael with you?" So he did. And we got out and we went out of the neighborhood, and there was a big, long piece of road as you got out of their neighborhood. And it was, 11 o'clock on Thanksgiving. So there's nobody on the road. It's completely open. And he stopped in the middle of the street. And I remember him looking over at me and going, "Is your seatbelt on?" Yeah. He goes, and he smashed that gas pedal. And as the car fishtailed down the road, I was hooked. That was all I needed. That was it. I was in.
That's great.
Cool. Well, I'm glad you got to tie that into your video, especially exactly. with your own car too. That's awesome.
That's great.
That's awesome. Well, I had to ask you. I'm sure we'll talk more about it, when we get together again. But I had to ask
because I won't look. I'll look up and it'll be 2 or 3 hours later, and everybody's wondering what we're doing, Phil.
Right? It was like, "Aren't you guys drinking? Come on, man."
So cool. Hey, we like to play a little segment here called "What Are You Currently Spinning?" Michael, you want to start that?
Oh, wow. Well, I that's a good question. I get up every morning. Well, I shouldn't say every morning. Sometimes I don't, but I get up most mornings, and again, I'm a vinyl guy. So, and I don't have an 80 Adams collection where it takes up a room, but I've got a pretty good collection, and I've got all the ones from when I was a kid. So that's usually the first thing I do. I make a cup of coffee and I listen to something in the morning, whatever that is, and it's usually, it's usually something I've heard a song, or, yesterday, and I want to hear the rest of the record, or it's something. So in the last couple days, what's my turntable? Kingdom Come, the first Kingdom Come record.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's just one. Sometimes you just flip through the vinyl and one sticks out. That one stuck out the other day, and I love it when that happens, because I haven't heard that record in it's been a couple of minutes.
Yeah,
and
it's a good record. Yeah.
What a great record.
Yeah.
And
that's cool.
I was immediately reminded that they were the 1988 version of Greta Van Fleet.
Yeah. They got that. They did get that Led Zeppelin comparison quite often.
I remember thinking that's who it was. You could have sold that to me pretty easily. And then upon hearing that it wasn't, it's like, well, Zeppelin's not doing anything, so shouldn't somebody else? So I that was a good record. I love that. Usually the stuff that I choose is 70s vinyl.
Nice.
What about you, Phil?
I've been listening to, I tell you what, I got it right here. I've been listening to the Winery Dogs. The new album came out, but
the new one.
Yeah, I actually bought the last two just recently. This thing right here is a fantastic album. It's called Hot Streak, their second one. And I've been listening to that, and then the new release, Winery Dogs 3. But I've been getting into that a lot. Ty wants to cover a Winery Dogs song for a live set. And all of us are sitting there going, "Are you serious, man? It's the Winery Dogs." We're not. We'll see what we can do. But Captain Love is the one that we're going to take an attempt at, because it's probably the most musical wise, something that we could probably copy fairly well. So, but Winery Dogs,
I'm sorry. In title, it's very close to Calling Doctor.
Yeah. Well, and if you listen to the track, there's so much similarity. You can. It's like, are you guys really? It's a super cool track, and it was one that I bought the first album when it came out, and I got into that, and then I kind of forgot about the Winery Dogs, because there's so much music coming out with different variations of these super groups, and I don't know why. And then Ty brought it up as a track to cover. I'm like, well, damn, I don't think I've heard that album. So when he played the song for me, I was like, oh, damn, that's a really kick-ass song. I go, and it sounds, it's not like they're playing a million miles an hour or doing all those really fast, riffy stuff. It's a very 70s rock feel. And as I was like, oh shit, this would be a fun one to take a shot at, and let's see what we can do with it. So that might be, it's, again, we have to be able to pull it off, but that might be in the set the next time we play. So, nice. But that's what I've been listening to, is the Winery Dogs.
What about you, Bob?
Yep.
Well, I've been listening to a lot of Babylon AD lately.
Babylon AD?
Yeah. And they just released a live album. That's great. So
what was the big song? Was it Bango the Bells?
Bango the Bells, yeah.
Bango the Bells, yeah.
Off that first record. But
I just heard, when you go through Apple Music, and then at the end of the record, they give you stuff where, it's just kind of stuff you don't have. Mm-hmm. I love I just heard that the other day, so it's odd that you mentioned that. That's a
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, I always thought it was one of the better records of that era. I mean, at least that time period. It was a
That
good
first album, it's just it's still something I put on and spin. You know, there's a handful of albums that you spin all the time, and then there's those other ones that, you know, you give a little time in between. But like Ace Frehley's solo album, 78 solo album, is something I play probably every other week or once a month, you know,
Wow.
at a minimum. So, but yeah, that Babylon AD, that first album, is one of those albums. You know, it's a great album.
Yeah.
They were a good band. There's a lot of those bands because those guys just came right out under the wire, right? I mean, they and just got lost in the wave. There's so many bands like that, and then a bunch of bands that, you know, that did more than they could have just because they were there a little earlier. And it's one of the bands that I always go back to from that era. And like Phil said, I probably listen to it once a month, is Lily and Axe.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
That Love and War record is such a good record. It blows my mind that record wasn't bigger.
Yeah, it was killer.
That's a great record. Great singer, great guitar player, great everything. Great songs.
Yeah, that's a band I haven't heard, you know, mentioned for a long time too. I'm glad you mentioned that. I'll have to pull that. I have a couple of their albums. I have to pull those.
Love, you know, and it Love and War is the one. You know, there seems to be that one when bands get multiple releases. There always seems to be that one where they got the right producer at the right time. It's the right sound. It's the right songs, the right members in the band. And for some reason, it still didn't do much.
Yeah.
Yeah. That brings up a question. So as a producer, since you've been producing for so long, how many bands do you think you've produced in the last 20 some years?
Oof. I tried to add it up, but this was a while ago. I think I've done, you know, 250 to 300 probably releases.
Wow.
And that's I tried not to count the, you know, 2 songs here, you know.
So
I
like
tried
an
to just
EP?
count it was EP and up, you know. I tried to count something that was actually released and not just recorded. So,
Gotcha.
which is, you know, not always the case, especially in these days.
Right.
But yeah, probably 250, 300 plus, somewhere there.
Wow. So what's your and I know we probably had this conversation. What's the biggest album? What's the one that's done the best? Like,
Well, it'd have to be the
'cause I
Phil
know you
Kubek
did
project, wouldn't it?
what was that?
It'd have to be the Phil
No.
Kubek project, wouldn't it?
No, I'm not. No. Yeah, right. No, I was,
Hey, you guys got record of the year, so you know,
yeah,
we're not doing
that's
too
true.
bad on that front.
There you go.
You did a great job on that album with us. Yeah, you got us. No, that was a lot of fun, and I'm sure, you know, having to deal with Mike and Ty the whole time during the recording of that thing wasn't always the most fun for you. But I put you through a little bit of hell, but you came out on the other side okay. You know, so.
That's usually the way it works. I mean, you know, no pain, no gain. So
Yeah. Well, and I know you did. Didn't you do like Pasty Jenny?
Yep.
Did you do one? You didn't. You've done some of their projects too.
I did. I did 2 records. I did the Head in a Haze record. And then I did the 18 Days in Weed record.
Okay.
And I shared that with Sylvia Massey. Her and I co-produced it. So, and co-engineered it. So, I got to do that one too. Yeah. That was definitely an experience.
Was it?
I mean, you go up to Sylvia's, she doesn't have it there anymore, but she used to have her studio in Weed, California.
Oh,
And
yeah.
and Weed, California is, I mean, when a band shows up in town and they are the most normal thing within an earshot, you're in some place odd.
Gotcha.
It was an odd experience for sure. But
Oh, that's fun.
but we did that record on the Sound City Neve.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, it was great working on that, and working with Sylvia was great. So yeah, that was a good record.
Awesome.
Well, I wanted to give you a shout out as a producer, because you've done a lot of really good work especially. I love that you come back to Nebraska and help out, and regionally, not just Nebraska. There's bands from Iowa, Missouri, Kansas, all around that come and work with you. But you come back and you give bands an opportunity to make a record, like you say, instead of just making a recording, you're making a record. You're not just making a recording. So,
well, I appreciate that, and they're, from the time that I started doing that part of it on, this side of the glass, that's always been my goal, is to make a record. I mean, even if I'm bringing a band in and we're only doing 2 songs, I don't consider that 2 songs. I just consider it the first part of your record. That's the way I've always looked at it. And that, again, that throws back to where I come from. But I'm fortunate enough to be able to, to do that as my day job. So
yeah. Bob, what else do you got? I mean, I circle back around to Escape the Hive.
Yeah, I just, before we get off, I definitely want you to go over where everybody can find the record and, tell everybody everything there is to know, T-shirts, whatever you guys got, man.
Yeah, actually, we just had some shirts printed up. So I think it was just last week they just went live. So you can go to the Facebook page, and there's our a site there called Linktree, and Linktree is great because it will literally it will take you to everything. All the videos, we've got 2 lyric videos out. All the singles, the 2 singles that are out now, are both up on all the digital platforms, but you can go straight to them through Linktree. And there's I just kind of got that word, Linktree. I guess that makes sense. It makes more sense than I thought. So you can get everything through there. T-shirts are on there. Like I said, those just went up. And also tickets to any of the concerts that we have announced, and we're going to be announcing a lot more here coming up. So all of that stuff, if you go either to Linktree directly and just search for Escape the Hive, or if you go to the Escape the Hive Facebook page, it's all on there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's easy to maneuver through too, because I've already went through and got my album. So and to your point, yeah, it's really easy to go through, and everything's easy to access, easy to process. So yeah, it's a nice site.
Yeah, it's something that I didn't know anything about until Conrad told me about it. He's the younger in the group, so he
techie guy.
He knows all the intranet stuff.
Nice.
That's great.
Nice.
Well, Michael, man, it's been awesome having you on, dude. I really appreciate it, and we're really looking forward to the Escape the Hive record, man.
Yeah,
I am too, man. I really am, and I'm so happy to hear you guys, to have me back, and I am really anxious to hear what you think about the rest of the record once it comes out. So,
absolutely.
Looking forward to it for sure.
I appreciate that, guys, for sure.
And it doesn't have a solid release date yet, but end of start of May, end of April?
somewhere end of May, sometime in June. It will
Okay.
have the physical release out, and they'll start going out. But a lot of we want to try and make sure that we do something for the people that pre-order it. So again, we're kind of talking about what that might be. It might be that when we record
Backstage
these
passes.
once if everything goes right and we get to go in the studio here in July and do these 2 new songs, maybe everybody that pre-orders it gets one of those.
Oh, wow.
Maybe.
Oh, nice.
I'm not saying that. I'm not promising anything. You didn't even hear me say.
Wait a second. AD said that everybody gets a freak. No, I'm just joking.
I got news for you, Phil. AD says a lot of things.
I love the guy. He's awesome, though.
Well, damn.
All right.
Well, Michael, thank you. Thank you again, man. It's always a pleasure.
Hey, man, I really appreciate it, and I appreciate you having me on, and definitely as soon as you guys get your ears on the whole record, I would love to know what you think of the whole thing.
Oh yeah.
Well,
I would love
to know. I got your phone number, so I'm probably going to be calling you anyway. So
that's all right. I might even answer.
Oh, bullshit.
He'll see. That's fucking Phil. I ain't talking to that fucking guy.
All right. Well, thanks so much for coming on, Michael. I really appreciate it. I know we were excited to have you on and talk about the new album. So
that's great, man. I appreciate it. Have a good day, guys.
All right.
You too.
Escape the Hive, man. Get her.
All right. Later, man.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Bye.